What is more coup d'etat than your national constitution gives you 2-term limit, 5 years, 2 terms. After serving 10 years, you want to change the constitution for another term. Is that not a coup d'etat? Because you feel you have the powers to do that. The soldiers have the powers to coup d'etat.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome yet to another exciting episode of World Politics here at Double Vision TV with me, Don Rogers. We have always been discussing about Kenyan politics, but today I want us to go a notch higher and discuss African politics in general, especially the most recent activities which we have been experiencing in African countries as far as coup d'etat is concerned. The most recent one being Niger, whereby the army decided to ouster the president and now the country is under the military control. And then, before that, ladies and gentlemen, we remember very well that in Sudan also, we are experiencing similar issues, and it has becoming a concern to Africa and the world in general. So I'll play for you a certain video clip of one leader from West Africa, a country known as Gambia, one Mr. I think I'm forgetting the name, but let me just refer here. Is Mr. Honorable Mama Kande, leader of Gambia Democratic Congress, is discussing about the most happenings or the recent happenings as far as coup d'etat is concerned. And then later on, I'll give you an overview of the countries which have experienced the coup d'etat. Like now, Sudan in April 2023, the military took over the country, and now the problem with Sudan is that we have two different sides opposing differently. You know, the military was split into two, whereby there's one which is known as Rapid Support Forces and another one known as Sudanese Armed Forces. All of them, they are claiming to be the legitimate wing to control the government. And then in Niger, as I told you, on 26th July this year, 2023, the President Mohamed Bazoum was ousted by the army, and now the country is under the control of the army. And then Burkina Faso also, September 2022, Paul Henry Sandago was ousted, and now we have the youngest president there, the youngest president in Africa right now, known as Ibrahim Traore, who is now in charge of that country. But later on, I will give you reasons as to why we are experiencing such a coup d'etat in Africa. But now, let me play for you the video clip so that you listen to it, and then after that, I'll come back here and explain to you what are some of the possible reasons as to why we are experiencing coups in Africa.
As an African, a Pan-Africanist, I am very concerned about the happenings in Africa, especially West Africa. Yagut, of recent, I have seen the ECOWAS introducing the anti-coup d'etat unit. Ñu ne pour coup d'etat dafa wara stop. Ku ko def, they will form a big unit, ñu ñew attaque la. Advocated strongly for us to introduce a term limit to make sure that we do away with coup d'etats in Africa, especially in West Africa. So meaning, I am not in support of coup d'etat. But I have a concern. Before setting up a unit or anti-coup d'etat unit in ECOWAS, isn't it time that the African head of states or the ECOWAS head of states look into the reason why there are coup d'etats? This unit is set up to defend them and to protect them only, nobody else. What is more coup d'etat than your national constitution gives you 2-term limit, 5 years, 2 terms. After serving 10 years, you want to change the constitution for another term. Is that not a coup d'etat? Because you feel you have the powers to do that. The soldiers have the powers to coup d'etat. That is also another coup d'etat. And they are living with them there. They are there. In the name of civilian, putting on mufti clothes, calling yourself a Democrat, when you loot all the resources of your country, mislead people, torture them, imprison them, burn their businesses to us, and you call that a democracy? Or a civilian rule and an illegally elected government? The leaders must stop lying to their electorate first. They must stop the corruption. They must stop looting our resources. They must understand that they are not a better citizen than anybody. They are given a responsibility, a role to play to help develop the countries and make sure that there is peace and tranquility. Now the whole country lied to everyone. When the people started reminding them, this is what you promised us, they threw tear gas on them. And the president is bragging, yes, when I threw tear gas in them, they never came back. Does that not anger the citizens? You throw tear gas on your people. Some of them are wounded and you stand out there and bragging that I throw them a tear gas. They never come back. That alone can anger the citizens. You promised the people you will have a security sector reform. It's never happening. The civil service sector reform is never happening. The Janneh Commission was violated before the end of the commission. When you take all the assets of the former president, and now you are busy buying assets. Your days are coming. I thought they should have learned, or they could have learned from this. Unfortunately, they are not learning.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give at least, let's say, 6 reasons or 7 reasons as to why many African countries are experiencing coup d'etat. Number 1, we can say that officers' personal grievances. We understand that in a country where the officials are not agreeing or they are not reading from the same page or from the same script, we are likely to experience such kind of issues whereby the army decides to take over and then now the country becomes militarized. And then reason number 2 as to why there is what we call military popularity. Military popularity is a situation whereby you find that the military is becoming more popular and more influential in a country than the presidency itself. In such a situation, we can experience a coup d'etat so easily. We have seen that in several countries. We have seen that in Niger. We have seen that in several other countries in Africa. And then, number 3, economic decline. When the country is deteriorating economically, it's possible that the military can decide to say, maybe the policies of this president, the policies of the sitting president are not working for us. Now that the president is not listening to anybody, we can now take the law to our own hands and then remove the president from the power. And that one can be also a possible reason as to why coup d'etat may happen. Domestic political crisis, that's another point. So we understand that when there's a political crisis in a country, economically, that country will start performing poorly. The rate at which the shilling of that country will deteriorate will be so high to the extent that many people become jobless, many people become now idle without anything to do. But by so doing, you find that crime rates go high and then so many bad things start happening in that country, and that can trigger now the army to take over the country. And then another reason is that contagion from other regional coups. This is now what we call copying from other countries. Maybe, like now, we can say that it can come up like a trend whereby a country can decide, or the army of a country can decide to say, because Niger, we have experienced that, we have experienced that in Sudan, we have experienced that in Egypt, we have experienced that in Burkina Faso, now it's our time. So some other country may decide, or the army of another country may decide to do a coup because they have seen others doing it, especially if they find a loophole which they can use to oust the president from power. So that is one of the major reason, although it's not a main reason. Another one, we can say external threats. Sometimes when the president is not reading from the same script with the colonizers or from the most powerful countries in the world, they can decide to sponsor a coup. But you know, when a coup happens and maybe a powerful countries behind that, they don't show up or they don't show out, but they can sponsor maybe the opposition or the army to oust the president, and then now the interest of that country, of that powerful country, can be taken care of. So those are some of the reasons, or those are some of the causes of the coup that we have experienced in Africa, and you can also find more than that, but I've just given you just an overview of what happens. Personally, I don't support coup d'etat, because when such a thing happens, there are so many evil things which happens there. Women can be raped, children can be abused, and then so many people can be killed, especially the weak. The sick cannot be able to access the medical facilities, and economically the country will perform poorly. So those are some of the consequences of a coup in a country. Thank you for watching me. I'm Don Rogers.